Thank you all for being here. Our next installment of the Rubin Dream Job webinar series. I'm Danny Rubin. I'm the founder of Rubin. We're based in Virginia Beach, Virginia. We work with school systems around the country, providing curriculum for employability skills, business etiquette. Teachers, a show of hands, how many times have any of you, hands up, seen an email from a student or an adult, and the email looked like a text message, not an email? Any hands for that? Or the entire email written in the subject line. Also see a lot of those. So we teach students how to communicate professionally, whether it's in emails or in-person conversations or on the phone, whatever the circumstance. And we learn about those skills by talking with professionals in different industries. And today we're super excited. Matt Marlow is here from Fulcrum Technologies. Do I have the full name
You have it
correct?
right. You have it correct.
He is doing incredible work at the intersection of high level sports across different sports, different athletics, and technology, helping teams gain deeper insights into their on field performance to get ready for the next big game. And it's a great way to marry business, technology, and sports. And I thought it'd be a perfect guest and conversation for our Dream Job webinar. So we're going to get to Matt in just a moment, bring him in. Before we do, I want to encourage, if you haven't yet, hold on, I just turned off my video by trying to click a browser tab. There, I'm back. If you have not yet, please bookmark, I'll put it in the chat, our webinars archive. We provide us the schedule of all upcoming webinars and an archive of all previous ones. Today is episode 92. And so all previous ones are here. They're organized by pathway. You can go back and find previous conversations with worksheets. And so please bookmark this page, save this page, so you can go back and watch more of our sessions after the fact. They all send you back to YouTube, or they play from YouTube, but on our website. And when you're there, take a look at everything else we do, all the curriculum resources we have for employability skills training. So make sure you grab that. And we had some more people say hello. I want to grab those. Bobby from Seaforth High School, Pittsboro, North Carolina, sports and event marketing. James Hatter, thank you, James, for being here. From Redlands, California, your ROP in Redlands. And James Wagner, business management class, New Baltimore, Michigan. So thank you all for being here. I'll keep an eye on the chat as we go. All right. With our housekeeping out of the way, I want to bring in our special guest, Matt Marlow. Matt, start off with an introduction. Take us through your colorful career, which he and I have known each other a long time, went to college together at the University of Virginia. And I've followed his career all along and all the twists and turns, the highs and the lows. But take us through where you've gone along the way and bring us up to today, and then we'll jump in.
Well, thanks, Danny, and thank you, Masson, and to all the students and teachers online. A special quick shout out to everyone in DECA, because that's where I started. I was a DECA student. I was in a sports and event marketing class. I did DECA 4 years, state vice president. Ended up in Virginia. Thought I was going to be in politics,
Go DECA.
and
We got to go
I
DECA in the chat.
exactly go DECA. And a buddy of mine saw an opportunity to work with recruiting in the football team. So I used that marketing background and was helping with recruiting. Go from there. That led to an opportunity with the historic women's basketball team there, where Don Staley played. And when I graduated, had an opportunity to stick around with the team as a video coordinator, so kind of the low man on the totem pole as a coach. Did that for 4 years and went to a couple NCAA tournaments. Joined a company called Fast Model Sports. Was employee number 4. We ended up growing to 40 people and just recently sold for $24 million. Led the sales team there. And in 2016, I helped to found this company, Fulcrum Technologies. And what we do is we work with elite teams and elite organizations all across the world to focus on video technology, how they capture that video, and how they tie data to it. So that kind of goes back to when I first started in sports as a video coordinator, working and showing players not just how did you score, okay, you made a 2-point basket, but what play did we run? How did that cut on the other side of the court affect what you're doing? How did your foot placement? Where did you catch the ball? All the little things that lead to the big things and the positive outcomes you see. And there's hundreds and thousands of people around the world doing things like I started doing. And so it's an opportunity to kind of give back to that community as well.
Fantastic start. By the way, Erin Deaver and her students, welcome in as well. Great to see you in our webinars as always. While we get going and we're going to show the Fulcrum Technologies website, I'm curious from where everybody is around the country, put in the chat, who's your favorite team in the Zoom chat? Who's your local team, college, pro, doesn't matter what sport, just put your team in the chat. Let's just see who we've got gathered today. Lakers, you
There
Michelle
we go.
Kaiser from Fluvanna County, so UVA near Charlottesville. The Nets. Make sure you're commenting with um, everyone, not just hosts and panelists. We have Seattle Seahawks, Saints, Who Dat, Lions, Arizona State. Is that go Bucks? Ohio State, Green Bay Packers, Bucks. Keep it coming. Love seeing that. Oh, a lot more. Lions, UNC Tar Heels, Yankees. Sorry about your Yankees. Didn't get all the way there. Portland Trailblazers, Real Madrid. So we have some soccer fans, Matt. Boo, Ohio. Ohio State, perhaps. Fighting going on. Oh, we have some. I don't know what I've started. All right, let's move off before we start fights in the chat about rivalries. Okay, so let's start. Matt, let's go to the website, Fulcrum, and help us understand what exactly are you selling? What is the product? What's the service? So let's start here with your product called Angles. What am I looking at here?
So what you're looking at here is a software program that coaches can go in and they can break down video, putting in data to that video that matters to them. So it's being able to create an application that they can break down video, whether it's their own team. So think every practice being able to break down, or whether it's a game, or whether it's scouting, and being able to put that information together. And by the way, with this, not only is it application of sports, we work with other things as well too. So for instance, there's educational researchers who set up video in the classroom and being able to understand how they're teaching, as well as with the United States military and teaching soldiers how to work as a team and operate, large military equipment as well too. But it's
Wow.
really just being able to put context and then communicate that back to your athletes or your audience as well too.
Okay. I want to dig more into this image. Before we do, I want to encourage now the teachers and students who are with us to go to the Q&A in Zoom. And I want you to enter your questions for Matt. Put your name and your school, and we'll give you proper credit. Okay, so like James already started with a question. James, move that question, please, to the Q&A so we can just keep all the questions in one place. Put your question in the Q&A, and we'll get to those in just a minute. So, Matt, I'm looking at this picture here,
Yeah.
this image, and I see the image of players on the soccer field or the soccer pitch or the football pitch, whatever part of the world you're in. You have to use the right terminology. So what's happening here underneath? I see these different players and little orange markers. So what am I looking at here? What's going on?
So actually, so everyone knows that video is the Aussie Rules Football. So
Oh, I'm
a little
sorry, not even.
background. No, it's a fun one. The background about this industry is it actually started in 1976, which probably seems like a century ago, but it started because the Australian Olympic team got shut out of the gold medals in Montreal, and so the Australian government put a focus on sports technology. And
Oh,
since then, teams have grown up. So we have employees around the world, but our for tax reasons, our headquarters is in Sydney, Australia. But what you're seeing in the middle there is what the coaches have been able to put data wise, and you kind of see in the middle. There's two buttons: add to review and note. Just a very simple, we call a markup window. Those markup windows can be two buttons. They can be hundreds of buttons. When I was at Virginia, I had a butt code window that was 300 buttons to be able to break down and add information. And to go to that question, whether it's college or professional, it's
yes.
all over. So we work with a number of EPL teams, so English Premier League teams. Manchester United may stick out. FC
Heard of
Barcelona may stick
those
out.
biggest clubs in the
Um,
world?
exactly. We've had 14 Division One basketball teams in the NCAA tournament over the past 3 years. If anyone's a field hockey fan, I saw UNC pop up. Our products, both angles and piston, are used school wide at UNC. Just last weekend, I was with their number 2 in the nation field hockey team. And what piston is piston is something that the coaches can use right on the sideline on iPads, but can also be used by officials as well. So it's a multi-use tool to be able to go in and share that data to coaches and then show that to players right away. So it's the aha moment, as we like to talk
I have a
about.
question. Maybe this will help make it real for students, and I'll get to our questions that are coming in the Q&A.
Yeah,
When we're watching like an NFL game or a Major League Baseball, and the player goes to the sideline or to the bench, and we see them looking at a tablet, kind of like in between plays, are they likely looking at technology like this to analyze what had just occurred?
very similar technology. And it depends on sport, but they're looking at different things. One, they're trying to see the different angles, right? They're not trying to just see what we saw on TV. In football, you talk about the all 22 film, which is from behind the field and showing all 22 players at once, almost like you would see in something like Madden or NCAA football and see from there. Different
Okay.
sports will have different angles on what they're seeing. One of the things that we've really revolutionized in this industry is being able to use multiple angles from IP cameras. So IP cameras are just like security cameras you may see around the school, around the mall.
Ah,
And so people can set up, they don't have to have multiple people using. But for instance, in basketball, my background, a lot of that work is going to be in the paint. So you have athletes in the paint, and you're talking about footwork, everything else. If I have angles, I can show an athlete, hey, you didn't move your foot, or you didn't pivot this way, or how you reacted. Trying to be able to teach those things to have the positive outcomes that they're looking to occur, whether it's the larger positive outcome like a win, or whether it's the individual events like better defense, scoring, etc.
hmm. Thank you. Getting to some questions here. By the way, that James Wagner from Michigan asked about the do you do more college or pro? I think the answer is yes, right?
Yeah.
Yes, the answer is yes.
And to give you a little bit more background about that, the both products are used, for instance, at the World Cup. So if you've watched the World Cup at all, what FIFA does is they set up about 20 cameras at every stadium. They are able to send it down to the field to the referees. So if you've heard of VAR, we're part of that. They send it down to the training staff. They send it down to teams. What then they also do, so the last men's World Cup was in Qatar. They then broadcast all of that back to a large room in England where they have 20 people breaking it down even further on angles. And if you go on FIFA's website for every single match, they've built data of hundreds of thousands of data points for every single match and then put into reports that you can download and see. So you talk
Wow.
about passing, left foot, right foot, heat maps, etc. And all of that's done in angles and piston.
Unbelievable the level of technology and how your company is plugged into that. What I love about what you're doing, and for the students here, this is global. You're touching the biggest clubs, the biggest events. I mean, you can't go any higher than the work that you're doing. More questions here. Erin Dano and her students. What type of education and training is required to work in your field? I know you learned a lot on the job. May not have been an exact class in high school or college for what you're doing, but looking back, if students were coming up now, what would you suggest they start to learn?
Math. Math is an incredible important part,
Hmm.
particularly, you hear about quantitative analysis, things like that. You're seeing a large amount of that data that can be out there. Coding, being able to take this information out, because coaches are not math people. They're not, they're not getting computer science degrees. So being able to take something that's very complex, distill down something so coaches can understand, and then so they can help communicate that further down to individual, down to players as well too.
I have a
And
question. I have a
yeah,
follow-up to that. And we do a lot of follow-up questions in our
go for it.
webinars. Students, we always stress the importance of follow-up. If there's something you want to learn more about, ask, go further. So you said math. Can you be a little more specific? Are there certain math like geometry, statistics? What would you say are good math classes for the work that you do?
So you're going to want to have a high, think about as you're, oh, that's such a great question. I'm trying to think through because I'm not a math person. I
Yeah, I
was
know.
very much a history and English person. Um, what you're going to want to focus on is being able to build out mathematical formulas, and I think it's probably higher level math. With that being able to build out things when you're looking. Anyone who likes basketball knows the formula PER and player efficiency rating. It's an incredibly complicated formula that people have come up
Formulas.
with.
Okay.
And people are able, different teams will be able to go in and break that down and have different, slightly different variations on how they evaluate players and see from there. So in previous, I see a lot of Trailblazers and Lakers and NBA teams being mentioned. In my previous company, we focused just on basketball, and a lot of NBA teams. We had all 30 NBA teams as clients. What we were able to do is we would scrape information off the web, scrape stats off the web, constantly update it, and then they would build custom formulas to be able to constantly evaluate players, whether it's their own, whether it's someone they're scouting, whether it's free agents. See from there.
Okay, that's fantastic insight because I didn't know where you were going to go with that sort of education and training, but the math formulas, high level math, that is what wins. That's what would show value
Yeah.
to you if you're going and looking to hire somebody else. Aaron also asked, and this can also dovetail into another question that Lindsay Rubin students asked. What's the work environment like? Like, are you, I know you're remote, you're moving around, your team is all over the world. And also, when you bring on somebody new, what is the salary range in this type of field? What can students expect working in sports and tech? Like, you can give a wide range, but just give a sense of what they can expect.
So let me start talking about working with the team, because working with the team probably is the most exciting part about all of this. And every sports can be slightly different, but the thing I always encourage anyone who wants to get into professional level sports to understand is that it is a 24/7 job. During the season, there's no such things as weekends because that's when you play. So you're constantly working. If we don't close a deal, we know about it as a company. If Real Madrid or the Yankees lose, everyone knows about it, and someone like Mr. Rubin here makes a comment to you poor Yankees fans about that loss and see from there. So you're always trying to find a way to win. Supporting those teams is the same type deal. Now, I'm very lucky to be able to work from home. Our team all over the world generally works from home as well too. But you're on the road a fair amount, where you're making that personal contact with people. You want to make sure they care. Their job's incredibly hard, whether it's worried about an 18-year-old athlete putting a ball in a hoop, whether it's about a 30-year-old athlete not getting hurt. Their job is contingent upon a bounce of the ball or a catch. So you want to make sure you're there to assist them and know that there's that personal interaction and that you're invested in them as well. But your days can be incredibly long. They can be incredibly short. One of my favorite stories is I recently went to Australia to visit. We had a company meeting, and one of my clients called me at 4 a.m. in Australia. Had to pick up, had to help them with something. That's the world you live in. You're on this 24/7. I'd like to say it's why my hairline works the way it does after 4 years of coaching basketball, and then the kind of the hours that come up. But it's an awesome thing. You get an incredible opportunity to meet great people, go to games all over the world, and really be a part of some really successful opportunities.
What's like a entry level salary, not just at Fulcrum, but just in the space? Like what's the expectation when you're brand new first year in the industry?
So inside sports, a lot of things are going to be, free work and see from there. So as high school students, if you want to get into this industry, put in the work in college. There'll be opportunities as college, and it's going to be small things. It's going to be something like being a manager, which is passing balls, picking up dirty clothes after, filling up Gatorade cups. And it may not seem that it matters, but it does. And coaches are watching you all the time. And that's going to be your gateway into sports. Now, an entry level deal in sports can vary. But a lot of times it is, $30,000-$40,000 a year when you first get started. It's not, we're the time of year when your football coach is getting fired and they're getting $30-40 million to leave a job.
Go
We
away.
all wish we had that in life. That someone paid me $40 million not to do something. But the reality is that you're going to start very low and you're going to put in time. As you grow, it'll get further higher up.
That's great.
When we hire here at Fulcrum, we like to hire people around $100,000 when they get started. But that is because of the fact that we're generally looking for people who have worked with teams for a while. They understand the workflow. They understand that, you're going to be getting calls in the middle. I've answered calls on the teacups at Disney World. I've answered a call in the hospital right after my son was born. That's just the way the work is.
Okay, good. Fantastic answers. James Wagner asked another question about, and we have students tuning in from all over the country, South, Midwest, West Coast. What are opportunities locally? I think you started to speak to it, and Is it walking up to your high school basketball team or the local Division One, two, or three sports program, whatever the sport, and saying, "Can I help?" Is that how you would recommend students get going?
100%. Look, do not have an athletic bone in my body. I was by no means, I was a decent runner in high school, but then I discovered that I don't like to run. So when I got to college and had the opportunity to work in sports, it wasn't because they knew me or they recruited me. It's because I said yes. And then you put in the hours. There were a lot of Saturday mornings. What I did with football is when a high school athlete like No Sean Moreno or, Matt Schaub for UVA fans, when they're in high school, the coaches would send a letter to them every morning. Hey, congrats on your 300 yards versus Spotsylvania High School, or congrats on your 200 yards versus, Don Bosco, whatever it may be. You would get up in the morning, you would create those for people. So 6, 7 a.m. on a Saturday, which is not a time any college student wants to be awake.
Yep.
You would get up and you would create those so the coaches could sign them before the game. And that helped to form that relationship.
Mm.
And those are the people who then help you in the future. On the Virginia football staff, I got to know people who became head coaches throughout Division One football programs, and they have helped me grow my business as well as with my background in basketball. But say yes and take the opportunities when you can get them. I
I
know it's a
love
little bit
that.
harder in high school, but definitely in college.
So that's a good segue into what we like to talk about often in our webinars, which is the social etiquette, the relationship capital, the social skills that are required. You just said you started at the bottom, you built relationships. When people move to other schools, they're thinking about you, and you've developed a fantastic network in your industry. How do you use your communication skills on a daily basis, whether it's email writing or speaking on the phone, going to meetings and making eye contact and handshakes? How do you find yourself bringing these skills to bear every single day?
Great question. I think the first things first is that you're going to be communicating with people from around the world, and some of the best communicators in the world are college and professional coaches. Right? They're trying to communicate something in a very high pressure situations, and so whether you're writing them an email for sales, whether you're supporting them because something just isn't working, whether it's just catching up with them, hey, great game, or man, tough one, you got to make sure that you are very clear in your communication. One of my hardest parts now with a global company is we have individuals who speak 5 or 6 different languages, and
Hmm.
English is their fourth language. So for me, who has a little bit of German, but English is what I speak, I have to make sure I'm crystal clear with my communication because I often have to remember, yes, they speak English, but they're having a conversation 15 minutes before in Spanish, then 10 minutes before in French, and then they're jumping to English as well too. Um, Whether with text, the big thing I encourage you is, one of my favorite buttons is the thumbs up button, right? I send it to people all the time to say yes, but also being crystal clear in your text and not writing in shorthand,
Mm.
being as clear as you can be. And if you have a typo, admit you have a typo. We all have fat thumbs. They can happen. Be as clear as you can be. Hey, I wrote this. I literally yesterday, I wrote so and I wrote so CSO to someone. And an hour later, they said, wait, what's CSO? I said, know what? I screwed up. I misspelled something and see from there. Everyone
So,
gets it in this
so
day and age.
you are careful when you text people, you use full words.
Correct.
Do you also write in like sentence format where you're capitalizing the first letter of the sentence, you're putting a period? Are you writing a text like you would write a document?
100%. It's something
Why
that,
why do you do that? Why is
you,
it not just super casual, LMK this and BRB that? Why do you keep a certain level of professionalism?
one, you don't know who they're going to share it with. What they may on staff, you may be solving a problem that they're going to screenshot or copy and paste and share. And that connection may be someone you need in the future.
Mm.
Two is to be crystal clear in communication. You don't want any, particularly when if you're trying to solve a problem for a client, you don't want any gray area about what you were saying and come back from there. And three, to be frank, particularly in the US with a lot of these with a lot of these colleges that are state run institutions, your text could end up one day public. And so you want to make sure that whatever you're saying is something that, if your mom or dad or an investor ask about, that you can stand by and what you
Oh,
were saying.
Can I see hands up from teachers and students if you appreciate or understand what Matt just said? Can I see some Zoom reaction hands? Because he is laying it out for you crystal clear. He is in a global business. There's so many good things you talked about, the language barriers, the cultural differences, that your text could end up in, being made public, used in court. Who knows where these things can go? They're frozen forever. I just love that you want to be on a good, there's a difference, right, between having a good sort of casual relationship with somebody and being sort of on that level, but also maintaining a sense of high level, polished communication no matter what. Right. You can be friends with somebody, but you still have to write them a certain way because you are representing Fulcrum. Right.
Right.
Speak to that side of it. You are not just representing yourself, you're representing the whole business every single time you talk to a customer. Is that right?
That's right. And the thing you think about all the time is you're not just representing yourself and the people you work with and your employees, but their families as well too. If we screw up, there's families who don't eat potentially and see from there. And we've grown from a company of 3 people to over 20 people worldwide, just under $10 million in gross revenue every single year. And so we're incredibly excited about that. But the world can change in an instant if you screw up. And so you're constantly on the lookout for what you're doing. There's constant information that people are sharing with you that has to remain private. And so you're always, and it can be hard at times because some of it's really, really juicy and really, really fun. And you want to put it out there. I know something you don't know, but you have to remember, hey, look, this is the privilege of the job. And this is what you have to do. This is the relationships that you've created with people give you access to that information. If you want to continue to have
Actually,
access, you have to
I
act a
love
certain
that
way.
point because we are in this mentality today. When we have something to share, we just run out on social media and we just share it.
Yeah,
Run it on Instagram, TikTok, just like boom, it's out. But when you're wearing this hat, you're in this business, like you said, have access to proprietary information, material that might become public one day, but not that at that moment. You have to have a sense of control over yourself to say, even though I know something that everyone else would say ooh and ah to, I have to, settle myself down. Remember that I'm in a job and there are ramifications if I am loose with information. I think that's another valuable sort of mindset for students to understand when you're out there working. You can't just share whatever you want because it would get likes and clicks. You're playing a different game and you're in that every day. There are things that you can't tell me, that you can't tell friends until the press puts it out. Then everybody can know, right? I think that's again. There's so many good pieces of advice within what you're sharing here. I want to go back to a question from Erin and her student, Erin Dano. What are some trends? We'll start to wrap up in a few
yeah.
minutes. What are some trends? Like, of course, the everybody's asking, how does AI factor in now? What else is going on in the field? Where do you see the business going the next 3 to 5 years?
So I've always been a contrarian. Even to the point when, so I go back, if my hairline doesn't give it away, I go back to when film exchange used to be on VHS tapes. And then it moved to DVDs and it was this big deal. Now it's all digital. So even back then, like you used to send physical letters to people. I started doing emails and people were like, you can't do that. Same thing with AI. I think AI is a great tool. I think it's a fantastic tool. There are some, Chat GPT, there's some fantastic writing tools. But in the same right too, with the specific nature that what coaches are looking for, AI can distinguish a goal. And we've done some AI work in cricket, for instance. But for a lot of things, it's you want to get an individual insight because there's not one answer to a question, right? You're supposed to lay up with the opposite hand. But some people argue about your arm angle and what you're doing and how you attack it. And even on an individual staff, there'll be differences. But AI will say, well, you should do this. Well, there's multiple ways to skin the cat. And so everyone's got to be able to figure out what solution works for them. So I always tell people with AI, it's a great helpful tool, but you can't depend upon it. And I talk to coaches a lot. There's a large company called Synergy in basketball. They break down games. They do a great job, and we love them to death. They're one of our partners. But there's a lot of younger coaches who depend fully upon it. And so I say, look, the kids who go to Harvard didn't just read Spark Notes or Cliff Notes. They read the whole book, they watched the movie, and they read Spark Notes and Cliff Notes. So use the tools that are available to you. And one little side note, Danny brought up social media, a little story so everyone understands something. About 10 years ago, you all may know Kevin McHale. He's a longtime great basketball player for the Boston Celtics, ended up the head coach of Minnesota Timberwolves. At my previous company, I had an employee tweet something out about what a horrible play Kevin McHale ran with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He gets fired, ends up at the Houston Rockets. Next year, we go to Rockets, get renewed. We didn't think they knew this employee. Great guy. We loved him to death, worked hard for us. But they brought up this tweet. And we ended up keeping their money. But it was about a month of meetings and apologies over a pretty minor tweet. So I always tell people, if you think it could cause a problem down the line, don't send it. And I'm not perfect at that. One of the best pieces of advice I can give to people, if you want to send something out, you're in the heat of the moment, you're angry, whether it's a game, whether it's politics, whatever it may be, take a piece of paper, write it down, let it sit on your desk, get that, dopamine rush that you feel good, you put it out there, and then throw it away.
But
Exactly. It just makes it so much better, and you don't have to, it's not going to be something you're going to have to live with 10, 20 years later. I am not envious at all of the students in this classroom of, technology has done some great things, but new skills that you all have to learn. And with programs like Ruben and like what your teachers are teaching, being able to learn how to deal with the consequences of social media and how it can be a benefit as opposed to a detriment to your careers.
great advice once again. I want to have you wrap up with on a little bit more advice, more broadly, about we have a lot of students here taking marketing classes. You came from a marketing background out of high school. You were very involved. Why do you feel like it was a great starting point for you? And why would you encourage more students to understand marketing while in high school? And how would that carry them forward?
And look, I think both, DECA, FBLA, any organization out there, one where you have to learn to work as a team is incredible because the world that you're in, whether it's on a basketball court, on a field, or in a boardroom, you're going to be working as a team with a variety of different people with different backgrounds. And so being able to do that's a soft skill, but a skill that is incredibly valuable to employers. The other deal too is being able to think on your feet. When you're going in to the role play situations, that is, with whether it's DECA or FBLA, for these competitions at ICDC, being able to have that ability to think on your feet, use the knowledge that you have and present a solution to a problem is something that's so important because you may think something's going to happen one way and it doesn't. Story I'll tell. We were sitting with the Charlotte Hornets having a discussion, and then their owner walked in. At the time, you may know their owner. His name's Michael Jordan. That was not something I was prepared for by any means
Wow,
in the
that's a kind of a
story.
surreal moment.
Exactly. And he asked some questions, and they were not questions that, I had mentally prepared for. I'd known kind of their workflow. And so we had to have a discussion in a very different way than, the best laid plans had to be thrown out the window. We had to do it with a completely different discussion. And those skills, being able to do that in that moment when, to be frank, you're just, I'm not saying moment, Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
You kind of start going, hey, that goes back to my time as Deca and the time my teachers put into me, to be able to learn those skills, to think on my feet and still
unbelievable.
be able to communicate what I'm thinking.
Wow. I mean, what started in high school led you to a moment where you could stand in front of Michael Jordan and give answers without your jaw just, being stuck on the floor or deer in the headlights. So I think
I'm
that
not
says
saying
a
my jaw
lot.
wasn't stuck on the floor. Let's just be honest,
I
folks.
mean, that's a little like, wow, you got to pull yourself together
Yeah.
to give competent answers. But what an awesome anecdote to wrap up on. Incredible. I mean, the people that you're in rooms with that you're helping, providing services to, it's really amazing. I've loved watching your career from a distance and just seeing everything that you've built and continue to build. I want to thank Matt for a fantastic conversation. Can we see some Zoom hands to show thank you? Some reactions. Really, really great. This will go on our YouTube library, of course, and students, teachers will watch it when they have time. I also want to encourage everyone to join us in 2 weeks. The day after Election Day, November 5th, we'll be talking to Lauren Bernard. She is a speech language pathologist. So we're switching gears, going into medical and healthcare, talking about her role with speech language and working with children in particular. All of our conversations are so wonderful and provide a glimpse into people's worlds and share such good advice back to students. So, Matt, thank you very much. Thank you, Madison, for your services. Thank you all for being here. Always appreciate the great crowds and the energy in the chat. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Until then, have a great rest of your school week, and we'll see you soon.